Namaste everyone. I am Neetu Somani, your host and moderator for today. I am a yoga instructor and yoga therapist from Singapore. It is a great pleasure and honor to be amongst such great dignitaries and speakers today. आप सभी का मैं तहे दिल से स्वागत करती हूँ. As you all know, 21st June is the International Day of Yoga, and we have started the celebrations already. News.Online, in association with National Youth Foundation, Indian Yoga Association, and Parmarth Niketan Ashram have organized International Yoga E-Conclave, and today is the second day. We have some renowned and eminent speakers from all over the world to enlighten us. Yesterday was the first day of the conclave, and we had the privilege to listen to many spiritual gurus and yoga masters from all over the world sharing their wisdom and knowledge with us. It is my pleasure to extend a cheerful welcome to all of you for the second day of International Yoga E-Conclave 2021. I would like to thank the sponsors of the conclave, who are City Montessori School, Vishwa and Vyasa, Canada, the Art of Living Foundation, Hum Purna Yoga Institute, Sarva Yoga International, Resonance the Yoga Studio, International Naturopathy Organization, SBPASS, World Yoga Federation, Yoga Alliance International, Sanmarg Event Expert, Adhyatm Yoga Kendra, Soham Department of Yoga and Naturopathy, MJ College, Jalgaon, Ananda Ashram, Pondichery, Dr. Nutan Ayurveda and Garbh Sanskar Academy, Manav, Dharam, Argentinian Hindu Parishad. Thank you all. The reach and spread of yoga today spans across continents. There are communities of yoga practitioners in almost every country in the world today. In order to benefit fully from yoga, to understand yoga in its entirety, we must reflect on who is a yogi. There is a beautiful shlok in Bhagavad Gita where Lord Krishna says, Yasmano dvijate loko, lokano dvijate chayaha, harsham harsh bhayo dvegair, muktoya sachme priyaha. By whom the world is not disturbed, and he who is not disturbed by the world, who is free from joy, impatience, fear, and distress, he is also dear to me. As you all know, we are going through extraordinary times with the pandemic still quite prevalent. As the world battles the COVID-19 pandemic on a war footing, India's traditional system of yoga has been established as a means to boost immunity, improve overall health and well-being. On 20th March 2020, Director General of the WHO also suggested that people could do yoga to maintain their physical and mental health. This will not help you only in the long term, it will also help you to fight COVID-19 if you get it, he suggested.
To welcome you all on behalf of News.Online, Parmarth Niketan Ashram and Indian Yoga Association in the International Yoga E-Conclave 2021. आज हमारे बीच में बहुत सारे ऐसे व्यक्तित्व हैं, महान विभूतियां हैं, जिनसे वैसे रूबरू हो पाना शायद मुश्किल होता, लेकिन कोरोना ने काफी सब कुछ आसान कर दिया और शायद हम लोग इस प्लेटफॉर्म पर यहाँ पर ऐसे समय में हैं जबकि पूरा देश कोरोना से जूझ रहा है और ये सही जरूरत है, ये कार्यक्रम इस समय की जरूरत बन चुका है। ऐसे कार्यक्रम में यहाँ आए हुए सभी अतिथियों का, यहाँ पर आए हुए सभी महान विभूतियों का मैं हार्दिक स्वागत, वंदन एवं अभिनंदन करता हूँ। This event is organized by News.Online in association with Indian Yoga Association, Parmarth Niketan Ashram and Indian Yoga and National Youth Foundation. This event is supported by City Montessori School, Vishwa and Vyasa, Canada, the Art of Living Foundation, Hanspurna Yoga Institute, Sarva Yoga International, Resonance the Yoga Institute, International Naturopathy Organization, SBPASS, World Yoga Federation, Yoga Alliance International, Sanmarg Event International, Adhyatm Yoga Kendra, Soham Department of Yoga and Naturopathy, MJ College, Jalgaon, Ananda Ashram, Pondichery, Dr. Nutan Ayurveda at Garbh Sanskar Academy, Manav, Dharam, Argentina, Hindu Parishad. We'd like to welcome everyone on board. We would like to welcome Mr. Ravi Tripathi, Indian Idol finalist, and who represented India internationally in Asian Games. We would like to welcome chief guest, Dr. H.R. Nagendra Guruji. He has joined us. We welcome you all on behalf of our entire team and on the behalf of the supporting organizations. We would like to welcome Ms. Bhanumati Narasimhan, the chairperson, Women Empowerment and Child Care Programs from Art of Living Foundation. We would like to welcome Dr. Jagdish Gandhi, founder, CMS Group of Institutions. We would like to welcome Dr. Ananda Balyogi Bhavnani ji, Chairman ICYER and Yoganjali Natyalam. We would like to welcome Subodh Tiwari ji, Vice President, Indian Yoga Association and Founder Director, Adhyatm. We would like to welcome Sarita P. Naik, the founder of UGLC and the faculty of AYG Academy. We would like to welcome Dr. Ishwar K. Baswareddy, Director, Murarji Desai National Institute of Yoga, Dr. Vishwas Manlik ji, founder, Yoga Vidyadham, Swamini Durga Saraswati ji, the faculty, Peter Rogina, founder, Project Peace Lights, Aparna Das, President, ISKCON Temple, Dr. Satyendra Kumar Mishra, faculty member, Faculty of Yoga and Alternative Medicine, Lucknow University. We would like to welcome you all on board for making this event a memorable event. And एक बार पुनः यहाँ आए हुए सभी अतिथियों का मैं अपनी संस्था News.Online की तरफ से, परमार्थ निकेतन आश्रम की तरफ से, नेशनल यूथ फाउंडेशन की तरफ से और इंडियन योगा एसोसिएशन की तरफ से हार्दिक स्वागत, वंदन एवं अभिनंदन करता हूं और इस कार्यक्रम को आगे बढ़ाने के लिए अपने होस्ट से अनुरोध करता हूं। धन्यवाद।
The next guest for today is Peter Rogina from USA, who is the founder of Project Peace Lights. So the colorful lights that we see on the screen are already radiating the peace and the love. They are so lovely and colorful, Peter. So now he will be throwing light on how yoga can be a curriculum topic for peace education. I welcome you, Peter Rogina.
Namaste, everybody, and thank you to the organizers for inviting Peace Lights to this event and for inviting me to share something that's pretty exciting. This is going to be a little bit different of a talk than what we've seen the last couple of days. I'm going to bring us through the story of Peace Lights, through an African initiative right now, and then back to yoga. So let me start by, while we have Peace Lights on the screen here, the colors in Peace Lights represent the different cultures in the world. And the motion represents how those cultures interact and work together to achieve harmony and peace and good energy. You see the words Peace Lights come up in 55 different languages, and we've always chose the holiest form of the word light. This plays all over the world, and wherever Peace Lights plays, people are encouraged to project their own thoughts and intents for peace into the lights, so that there's this collective energy. It's always been acclaimed for its energy wherever it plays. So right now what I'm going to do is I'm going to share screen, and it's disabled share screen. Can I share a screen?
Himanshu, can we do that? He wants to share the screen.
Yes, now you can try.
Okay, very good. Okay. So yoga as a curriculum. First of all, education is the most powerful weapon we can use to change the world. And I believe that this idea of propagating the teachings and wisdom of yoga is important. And just as we will share interfaith activities and knowledge, this will be an important way that we all move towards a culture of peace. So I'm going to talk about Peace Lights and how it started, and then into Project Peace Light. So I started shooting light in 2009, 2014, bunch of shows. 2015 was the United Nations International Year of Light. And my partner and I were the invited artist projectionists for that ceremony, where we brought this predecessor to Peace Lights. And it had always been, people would stop on the street and talk about the energy of this particular part of our light shows. So a long story happened, but we came out with Peace Lights in April of 2015. I just described the symbolism of it. It started playing all over the world. It is now adopted by peace organizations from 19 countries as their symbol of peace. That summer, the United Nations International Year of Light endorsed Peace Lights as a symbol of peace. And it continues to play all over the world and shows up in various places and events, conferences, concerts, yoga events. This is in Goa. It was brought to Goa by the World Yoga Community. These are pictures from the United Nations, where it's played nearly 40 times and been on display for a month at a time. And here is a picture in 2019 on the International Day of Yoga in the General Assembly Hall of the United Nations. And I think this video will play. I have a quick 18-second clip. So Peace Lights has pretty much, been recognized and continues to grow and show on events like what we're doing. It wasn't until I met and was asked to speak at an event for this person that things really changed. So Claudette Colvin grew up in the South in the United States, and we've had our own flavor of social inequities and inequalities for sure. But the point of her story is she knew her rights, so that when she was asked to get up from her 6th row seat, where the state law was only that whites could sit in the first 5 rows, she said no. And that led and paved the path to Rosa Parks, who was really the symbol of the civil rights movement in the United States. And certainly most of you might know Martin Luther King, who also won a Nobel Prize, but also was very involved in the civil rights movement here in the United States. So Claudette Colvin was credited with accelerating the change in the plight of colored people. So when I was asked to speak at this event with Peace Lights playing to honor this woman, I had to look up what that really meant. So it kind of meant the plight of colored people in 1955 could be measured in deaths per day. Now, eventually that went down. If she, through her actions as a 15-year-old girl and standing up for her rights, accelerated that timeline, what it really meant is she took this curve and she pushed it to the left. Now, the result of that was that there were people who were no longer under the curve, and those were literally lives saved. So her teacher, who taught her about this, deserves some of the credit, because you could say that Claudette Colvin, by doing what she did, literally saved lives. And that by extension, her teacher, Miss Geraldine Nesbitt, literally saved lives. But you could also say that it was the content of those teachings that made the difference. And the content of those teachings would fall under the umbrella of, without fully defining, peace education. Now, I spoke about this, and afterwards someone said to me, Mr. Rogina, no one's ever told her story that way. Would you mind telling that story to the ambassador from the African Union to the United Nations? So I was kind of surprised and not expecting that. I went in and I met with the ambassador, and he said, I don't meet with people like you, but often I'm meeting with world leaders and so on. But would you mind reviewing a document? Because you have a unique perspective. And he handed me their 50-year plan, Agenda 2063, which is a beautiful document. I studied that document and found that I was looking for a connection with Claudette Colvin. Aspiration 4 of 7 in that document, and again, beautiful document, calls for a peaceful and secure Africa. And the words specifically say, a culture of peace and tolerance shall be nurtured in Africa's children and youth through peace education. Well, it turns out that after studying the rest of the document, looking for other things about peace education, nothing was in there. So I went back and I said, Ambassador, it's a beautiful document, but you really have no teeth behind what is arguably the most important part of your plan. So somebody over time said, you must talk to this guy, Mamadou. He's chaired Pan-African curriculum development working groups. Who knew there was such a thing? I'm just a guy from New Jersey, right? So I don't know much about Africa at this point. So I engaged with Dr. Mamadou. And he said, hey, you know, it really wouldn't be difficult to develop a peace education curriculum. You know, you would have 3 meetings over the course of, say, 24 to 36 months. And this is how you do it. It'd cost about, we figured it out, about $4.5, $5 million. Well, I brought this back to the ambassador and said, you know, he told me that's a great idea, but in Africa, you need to involve all the tribes in order to have success. So we came up with this way to engage with all of the tribes through days of discussion. Now, this is where yoga comes in. So we want to help the African Union accelerate their timeline of propagating a peace education curriculum. But I've often been challenged on, hey, what are going to be the topics for this peace education curriculum? That's the reason why it didn't go anywhere in the first place. They couldn't agree on what peace education actually meant. So I said, you know, it's not 100 things. It's maybe a dozen things. It's 20 things. It's something that a working group should be able to get their mind around. And I created these list of topics. They would be things like this. This is not meant to define what the topic should be, but things like this. And no matter what the working group comes up with the help of the ethnic groups around Africa, they will all sit on a foundation of human rights. Now, I looked at this potential list of topics, again, you know, just thrown out as a potential, and I specifically resonated with inner peace and said, you know, if we're going to have these teachings, we ought to bring in wisdom and education from around the world and incorporate that. Now, I am fully aware that yogic teachings touch on more than inner peace, that it's more than just physical, it's spiritual, it's mental, it's social aspects, and that yogic practices would touch in many of these potential topics for peace. So what we've done is we've created an ability for yogic practices to be brought into the curriculum development working group. And along with interfaith knowledge and education, we want to bring in these teachings and inculcate them along with, again, it's not instead of other teachings, it's in addition to other teachings that will be taught from the youngest of ages to the children of the 1.3 billion people in Africa. And I like this quote as well. When educating the minds of the youth, we must also educate their hearts. So this whole effort of helping to facilitate the acceleration of peace education in Africa, which many have agreed this effort will do by about a decade, we are going to have the opportunity to bring yogic practices, yogic wisdom, along with many other teachings into the heart of Africa, where the fastest growing portion of the population are newborns. About a year ago, Project Peace Lights was formed, an NGO to facilitate this activity. And we are now, the mission of Project Peace Lights is to accelerate the timeline for the definition, curriculum development, and rollout of peace education globally, but initially in the African Union. We are currently in 30 countries and growing right now. So there is a lot of momentum. And to summarize, and in conclusion of this talk, there is this enormous opportunity to accelerate peace education. And in doing that, as Claudette Colvin's story teaches us, literally save lives in the most conflict-ridden part of the world. So it's truly what I believe is a noble venture, and one that I'm very excited to be. Education is the passport to the future. Future belongs to those who prepare for it. And in what we're doing, we are truly helping Africa, and I believe as a foundation for the rest of the world, prepare to this journey of towards a culture of peace. So thank you very much. Namaste, everybody. Let me stop sharing screen. And I really appreciate the opportunity once again to be here, share with you this big venture, audacious venture that's going on in Africa, and kind of tie together how yoga will absolutely be a part of this journey going forward. So thank you. Namaste, everybody.